I won't stop talking about these 10 out of 10 masterpiece fragrances anytime soon. They are amazing. They're worth the spotlight. They're worth checking out at some point, adding to your collection if it kind of sounds good to you, because you're probably not going to stop hearing about them, not just from me, but from a lot of other people as well. They've really made a positive impact in the fragrance community, and I think it'll remain that way for some time. A couple of these have been out for quite a while. Others are a bit newer. Just depends on what we're looking at. That first one is on the newer end of things here. It is Hugo Boss Bottled Absolute. The patchouli incense combination in here is amazing, along with a nice leather accord as well, getting some myrrh, so it's smoky, woody, sweet, almost kind of balsamic, mysterious. It is a phenomenal designer scent that really doesn't smell like a designer scent. The gradient on this bottle is amazing too. It really shows in pictures. You've got the more kind of yellowish color down here at the bottom, up into the nice dark gradient up top. This stuff, man, it's a work of art. For the most part, the Boss bottled lineup has been solid through the years. They've had very few that weren't all that exciting. A lot of their scents are really, really good for the price, because generally on discounters you can get them for, under $100. And even a Boss Bottled Absolute has worked its way just under $100 when in stock on discounters. Retail is around $140. Also, Boss Bottled Bold Citrus, the newest one, is really good as well. That's a great summer scent that is better than expected. But Boss Bottled Absolute, I'm going to talk about this stuff for as long as it's around, and hopefully they keep this one around for a long time, because again, if you're looking for a winter scent that just smells more expensive than what it is, this is something I would check out. Now, this next one is expensive, I get it, but man, there is just something about it that is remarkable. And on discounters, that's a different story. It's still expensive, don't get me wrong, but the retail price is wild. Discounted price, generally you can get it into the mid 300s for 100 ml. Sometimes, if you're fast enough, it'll dip into the upper 200s, 270, 280, but it sells out quick. It's a lot of money, but again, 100 ml. And you're also getting a fantastic scent in return. High quality, strong performance. It is Reflection Man 45 Extrait. For me, the bottle alone makes it worth it. I love the look of it. Really, really cool looking, especially here in the light. Looks amazing. And the easiest way to describe this one is it is Reflection Man done right. And what I mean by that is great performance, okay? The original Reflection Man, there's nothing wrong with it except that it's an eau de parfum. It doesn't quite perform the best. You would expect maybe a bit more. It more performs like an eau de toilette though. And it's overall a white floral scent. That is what Reflection Man is. White florals, some light woods in here, but overwhelmingly fresh, uplifting, very mature, very gentleman smelling. There is nothing about this at all that smells young or playful or juvenile or modern in the sense of sweet. There's none of that going on. This is, the original was released several years ago before all of this stuff anyway, but it's just different than what you're used to smelling these days. And the Extrait version here, 45, which is at a 45% oil concentration, which is really high, it is that original reimagined. It's simply just stronger, it has more depth, more complexity, it's more rich. It's just, to me, it makes the DNA so much better. That's the easiest way to put it. And a lot of people are just not going to be sold on the price difference, the eau de parfum versus the Extrait. Discounter price difference is going to be pretty big. Retail price gap is even bigger, but for me, it's more than worth it. And I didn't buy this at retail. I did buy it at the discounted price, which was still a lot, and I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into, but it turned out to be an exceptional purchase for an exceptional Extrait, which I believe is what they call these. Great for spring, great for early summer, great for a summer evening night out when you want to smell expensive and premium and you just want something to fit the part. Okay, we're going to go for another niche, and then we're going to be back to more affordable stuff here. Let's get it out of the way. It's Parfums de Marly Altair. Okay, now this one is all about the vanilla and the tonka. that's it, okay? There's more, of course, going on in here, but really those two notes are the focus, vanilla and tonka bean. You kind of get this almost like chestnut type of smell, which is very common in men's fragrances. Take a look at things like By the Fireplace, but then also all of the Armani Stronger With You's for the most part use it, and a lot of other fragrances as well. Even if they don't list it, sometimes you kind of feel like you pick up on it. It's a very common smell, that chestnut accord. Kind of gives it a slightly gourmand, sweet aspect. And you get a lot of it here with that vanilla tonka. This stuff is great. I love it. And I think it was one that was kind of easy to dismiss or maybe hate on a little bit when it was first released because of all of that sweetness. At the end of the day, there are going to be people who like the trends and they like the brands kind of going with it. There's going to be people who just don't like it at all. And I think, honestly, a good place to be is somewhere in the middle. You know, if a brand is able to capitalize on that trend and do it right, give them a thumbs up. But if a brand comes in and they just completely rip something, you know, almost like a one-to-one clone of another very popular type of smell, well, that's kind of boring, and that might be a redundant release to have in your collection. So I think there's, you know, finding a middle ground for how these brands approach doing that is worthwhile. And in the case of Parfums de Marly here, I think they did a good job of kind of going in and capitalizing on this current trend of sweet men's scents, because this is marketed for men and it is very sweet, but they also really make it stand out as well. I love how it smells. There's no denying that. It's a great performer, fantastic compliment puller. As far as winter, fall and winter is concerned, it's very versatile. Spring and summer, not as much, but cooler weather, you can wear this for about anything. Okay, this next one, it's technically niche, but it's a designer price, so we're kind of back on track here. Also going to be more cooler weather leaning, although depending on the time of year and the temperatures that you're experiencing in spring and summer, this could easily work as well if you play your cards right. It is L'Homme Ideal Parfum by Guerlain. So yeah, technically niche, but you know, on discounters when you can scoop a bottle up, generally around 120. For 100 ml, not bad at all. That's, well, if you can get a new designer release for 120 bucks these days, I would say you're doing pretty good, because the retail on a lot of these, and maybe even this one, is, you know, $170, nearing $200 these days, which is, it's starting to get a little bit wild, but you know, oh well, nothing we can do about it except wait for them to hit discounters. This one, I will say, you're paying a bit of a premium for it, but it delivers. It really, really does. And the entire line delivers to me. I don't, aside from maybe like Sport, that's about the only one that I kind of dismiss, but everything else, Extreme, the Eau de Parfum, L'Intense, Platine Privee, even the original, they are all incredible scents, and they're well worth the money. This one, it uses an amaretto note, still getting that almond, still getting kind of that slight tonka bean sweetness in here as well. But I said it already, the amaretto, it has a bit of a booziness that we haven't had yet. You know, in Extreme, we had plum and tobacco, great combination that's unique, not done all that often, but it worked great. In the Eau de Parfum, we had that cherry, almond, vanilla combination there. Also unique, using the fruitiness there, but worked really well. We finally have one with a bit of a boozy accord, giving it this gentlemanly, mature, classy smell. I mean, this stuff, it smells wonderful. It may become one of my top favorites, you know. I'm still always going to love the Extreme, always going to love the EDP. But this Parfum, I've really been enjoying it. I don't see this one going anywhere as far as me talking about it. And I hope that they keep this around for a long time as well. Kind of as we're moving into summer here, it's Y Eau de Parfum Intense. For me, this just checks all of the boxes. I'm kind of to the point where when I'm picking out my favorite Ys, it's going to be the Eau de Parfum Intense, and honestly right now, probably the new Le Parfum 2025. And third place would be the Eau de Parfum, just the OG, kind of keeping it classic there. And I know obviously the Eau de Toilette would be considered the OG, but most people don't wear that. Most people kind of look at Y Eau de Parfum as the top dog in the wine lineup. And that's number 3 for me right now. I really do think that Y Eau de Parfum Intense has taken my number 1 spot in terms of my personal rankings, mostly just because, one, I've worn this more in a shorter period of time. Now, if you take a look at when I got Y Eau de Parfum to now I have physically worn more of it because I've had it for much longer. But as far as time period, like I've worn this more in a shorter period of time. And it's not going to show up very well on camera. This is my personal bottle here. And it is, well, you can kind of see it moving around, you know, it's right there, which for a lot of people, you know, that's nothing. But for somebody who has a few things to choose from, that's considerable. And so, yeah, this is my personal bottle that stays down here that I only wear, okay? So I've burned through a decent amount of it, and I don't see that stopping either, especially as we move into warmer weather. I'm going to be throwing this one on. I'm going to be throwing on the Le Parfum 2025. I prefer these. Why? Because it gets away from some of that apple sweetness, which I do like from time to time. Don't get me wrong. Man, sometimes it's a bit too much. Sometimes I want something that's just a bit more fresh, a bit more almost near traditional smelling, you know, because when you go through wintertime wearing a bunch of sweet scents and you get into summer and you want something fresher, but even your summer scents are still really sweet, sometimes you kind of want a break, and this is that break for me. Kind of running down to the end here, we're going to go for a Chanel. Maybe not the Chanel you were thinking of, you know. You hear about Bleu de Chanel all the time, love them, okay? Hear about the Allure Hommes, love those too. I love Chanel's catalog because it's not nearly as expansive as basically all these other brands, right? They're a little bit more selective, which I like because it's not overwhelming. But this is one that was released years and years ago, but it still smells modern, still smells new-ish, and it's one that I'm always going to have around. It's Platinum Egoiste. It is, so like you hear Dylan Blue, for example, called a shower gel scent, right? Fresh out of the shower, maybe even Sauvage, you know, people call it that. And, you know, when you smell that, or smell those, you kind of view it more as like a younger guy's body wash smell, right? This is a gentleman's body wash smell, okay? This is an expensive, luxurious, not necessarily bar of soap. Well, it could be, but more so a real nice, premium, classy smelling shower gel body wash, okay? It doesn't smell young. In fact, it smells more so the opposite. Not old either. It's just mid-range. Smells like middle-aged guy who's successful and who is well put together. That is Platinum Egoiste. You know, it's not your usual aromatic fougere where it smells like an old man, okay? It's not to that extreme. It's right there in the middle, nice modern take. And this is barbershop scents for people who want something more wearable and more fit for the times, okay? It's not like a YSL Rive Gauche Pour Homme or something, which has a little bit more of an older school smell. This is just nice, fresh, clean, modern. You got the lavender, the geranium, just all the nice aromatics in here. Gosh, it smells so, so good. And also not hatefully expensive either. It's pretty reasonably priced. And actually, sometimes discounters will carry this one, and I believe it might even be below retail, which is a big no-no, but they do it. So you can get it sometimes for below retail, although that's very rare for Chanel. All right, we're gonna finish things off with Gentleman Eau de Parfum Reserve Privee. Small little 60 ml bottle here. Don't really recommend these, but it was all that was available when I purchased it. Full retail too. Ugh, that sucks. And just haven't had a need to upgrade. You know, I've got a 200 ml that I use for work, but this is my personal bottle. Kind of cool looking. It's chestnut, it's whiskey, it's iris, which the iris is kind of transferred over from all the others, but the whiskey and the chestnut, those are new additions. And those three together could not be more perfect. This smells wonderful. It's a nice, boozy, gourmand take on the original Eau de Parfum. This is everything I was looking for in a flanker. I remember when this came out, and I tried it, I was like, man, it's almost like they listened to me or something. I know they didn't, right? And you know, but you kind of can't help but think that. Like, this checked off all the boxes that I was looking for in a gentleman flanker. And so for that, and for the fact that on discounters now, it is very reasonable, I'm always going to be talking about this stuff. For fall and winter, you cannot beat this stuff. Great performance as well. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Some 10 out of 10 amazing scents that I won't stop talking about anytime soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.